Hello, everyone, and welcome to Planoly Business School. My name is Cody Foster, and I am the Director of Marketing here at Planoly. We have some incredible speakers lined up today, and I'm so excited for you guys to learn from them. So thank you for joining us for our Client 201 session, which is all about freelance management systems and how to run a successful social media freelance business, which I'm sure so many people have so many questions about. So before we get into it, I'll do a little bit of housekeeping. We have three incredible speakers here today who have prepared presentations for you. Each of them will speak for about 10 minutes, and then we will have time for a Q&A at the end. I do strongly recommend that you submit your questions now or throughout the session so that by the time we get to the Q&A, our team in the background is being able to filter through all of those questions and have them ready for us. So if you have questions, don't save them till the end just so we can make sure that we get to as many as possible. And without further ado, I will go ahead and get things started. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Planoly, Planoly started in 2016 as the first visual Instagram grid planner. Social media has obviously evolved a lot in the last decade, and so have we. So we are now a powerful multi-platform scheduling tool where you can plan and schedule content for anything from TikTok to Instagram to Pinterest to Threads. You name it, we probably have it. And you can also add additional social sets. So if you're managing clients, we have that functionality as well. And as of last year, we also introduced Creator Store, which is our link in bio storefront tool. So not only can you add links to your websites, to your services, your affiliate links, your storefronts, all of the normal things you can put in a link in bio, but you can also link to digital products. So things like e-courses, ebooks, digital downloads. So it's a great way to monetize your social media. We will be sending out a 30% off code for Planoly tomorrow with the recording in the email. So check your email if you're interested in trying Planoly. And we also have a free 2-week trial. Now, without further ado, I will introduce you to your course instructors. We have Sydney, Hannah, and Brianna, and they are all so incredible. We have worked with them throughout the year, and I'm just so excited for you guys to learn from them. So I am going to hand things over to Sydney, who is going to kick things off with how to find clients.
Hi guys, super excited. Have been working with Planoly for years now and love everything that they offer for content creators. And so I'm super excited to share more about super excited to share more about how to find clients as a freelancer from myself, an owner of a social media agency. Okay, here is high level agenda. So a little intro about myself, your social media and your portfolio, how networking can convert, direct outreach, content that attracts clients, and common mistakes to avoid. So, like I mentioned, I am the founder of Sleek Social Club. It is a social media agency, and I have over 8 years of experience in this industry, essentially just connecting brands and working with content creators as well to grow their social media presence through the organic side of social media. And it truly has evolved into something that bigger than I could have even imagined. So it's really fun and excited to talk to you guys about it. Okay, so to the right, we do have our Sleek Social Club Instagram. It's a little snippet of the grid, but your social media is essentially your portfolio. So it is the first impression of your work. So before a call, before a proposal, before anything, you're going to see that people are going to find you as a brand 9 times out of 10 through social media. So essentially, this can be discovered through your reels or through your carousels or your stories that you're posting. And potential clients, they are always lurking. So even if they aren't engaging with you, or maybe they aren't DMing you right away, maybe it takes time for them to kind of warm up of the idea to reach out to you, and they're kind of like stalking your social media at first. So that's why it is important to be consistent on socials and be consistent to building your online brand. And it's almost like practicing what you preach in a sense, because it's like if we're telling these brands they need to amp up their socials and it is such an amazing business tool, then like why wouldn't we ourselves have a presentable social media page? So a few key things to really surface on what you should have on your social media page is a really good landing page. So for me, I have a few things in my link in bio. So I actually work with Planoly or have worked with Planoly in the past to create my creator store. So in there, I have different things where people can book calls with me, people can buy my products, things like that. And it's another way to earn passive income. And then I also have another link where people can essentially book discovery form calls with me. So you want to have an optimal landing page so that way it's easy for people to talk to you. Niche posting is also a faster yes. So I think that there are so many social media managers in this world, and that's great. I truly believe that there's room for everybody. And I also think that sometimes not every area of business is meant for you. So I like to keep in my niche as far as like right now, like we don't really do a lot of men's things. So I work with a lot of women. A lot of my businesses I work with are women owned. So that's why my page, it kind of reflects obviously my personal style, which is definitely more girlier, a little bit edgy. But to me, this is very much so niche to like a girl boss energy. Um, and again, link in bio, I've talked about that, how that's a great way to land your clients and then also post with intention, not just post. So every time you're posting something on social, again, this is something that we preach to our clients, but you want to make sure that it has some sort of value in it. Networking that actually converts. So the truth about networking isn't just like pitching in the first message. So a lot of times people think networking is cold, it's awkward, and it's just like handing out your services to everyone you meet. But it's really much so about building familiarity, creating trust over time, and staying top of mind. So people hire you if they know you. So a lot of my clients, aside from social media, also come from referrals because they trust me. Specifically, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, so I get a lot of local clients, and it's more so just through, oh, you worked with this person, and then I know this person, and it's very a small circle, as I'm sure all of the cities that you guys live in. It's a very small world, right? So there's different things that you can do within your community to get your face in the door, such as different events, pop-ups, coffee shops, co-working spaces. There's so many small business meetups I know in Charlotte. So I would imagine that there's some in different cities as well. This works because in smaller groups, it's definitely a little bit of a less competitive. It's more one-on-one. So you can build that trust and that face-to-face connection. That's more of the local networking. When it comes to online networking, again, this ties back kind of to my first slide of using Instagram as an amazing tool, which again, we are treating it like a client's page. So we're replying to stories, we're commenting on posts that we think are engaging or important. We DM people when it makes sense. So if I see that a new restaurant or something is opening up in the area and it aligns with my services, I'm going to shoot them a DM and be like, hey, like this is so exciting. And again, I'm not like pitching my services right away, but I'm growing that connection. How to start conversion. So this is definitely an easy way to do this, like I mentioned, is stories. So whether that's like replying to stories, it's just again like slowly getting into their DMs of maybe you're saying, oh, this is a good idea, or I have been working with so and so, and just introducing yourself because networking, in order to turn network into clients, you have to make sure that you're doing the following. You're engaging, you know them by name, you check on their profile, you actually know what their brand is to see if you can actually help them. And it's more about the relationships than anything, online or locally. Direct outreach. So I feel like, again, this is definitely something that people are scared of, specifically people in our generation. They think it's like awkward or desperate, and they feel like I don't want to beg for work, and essentially we need to show our worth and we need to offer a solution to somebody who needs it, right? We're providing a service at the end of the day. So what I like to do is identify my ideal clients. Again, I'm not niching down to the point where I'm limiting myself, but I'm understanding who I would work well with. So is it an industry that I can relate to, such as fitness, beauty, real estate? Is this a small business or is this a startup? Am I actually seeing from their profile that they need help versus it's very clear that they already have an agency? Or you can kind of tell too if they're like, based on somebody's Instagram, if they're able to take on a social media manager as well. So before I reach out, I do spend some time reviewing their last like 6 to 9 posts. I spend time looking at their bio, their content quality, their engagement, and then I give them some areas of opportunity that they can improve upon. So this is that small audit social media presence where I'm saying, your content is strong, but maybe there's no CTA, or again, maybe there's no value driven in those posts. Like you're just kind of throwing something up, but it's not strategic. And then from there, we go into those DMs because, again, our goal is to start a conversation. It's not just to immediately close a deal. So, a bad outreach example, I think people get caught up in extremely long, like paragraphs when it should just be very, like, short, specific. Hey, how are you? Like, I'm so and so. It's very casual, like as if we were talking in person. And then this is a huge, huge part is the follow up. So most people tend to like, they get on like a little spurt of motivation. They're like, I'm going to reach out to all these companies, all these businesses, and then they never follow up. So they send one message, they don't get a response, and then they give up. But what could have happened is the client could have forgot it. They could have got busy. Something could have came up. So consistency is key. Hey, just wanted to bump this up in case it got buried, as simple as that. This is some content that attracts clients. So again, your content shouldn't just be good, it should make them be like, I need them for my business. So what makes content convert? So in order for content convert, you want to show what you're actually doing. You want to prove that your work gets results, and you want to help someone see what they're doing wrong. So these are some examples from Sleek Social Club's Instagram, where I have client testimonials. I have different content examples of clients that I've worked on. And then I also have analytics of what we've done and how like these clients have gotten engaging posts or followers, things like that. Um, Another example of what you could post is like different before and after transitions of like what their feed looked like before working with you versus after, showing you working in real life. People love behind the scenes content. They love just like raw, real. Again, like I think the way social media is evolving is it's coming very founder face. So I'm very present on my social media page. A lot of people find me for me before they even realize that it's like a social media agency. Common mistakes to avoid. So this is kind of a summary of what I've been talking about, but more so, um, it's like ignoring that like awkward feeling. So waiting until you feel ready. People think that you need more experience or more followers or more certifications, but in reality, like you should just start pitching yourself. If you feel like you know what you're doing, you don't need to go to a 4-year degree to do social media management. It's all about the confidence and showing results of what you are capable of doing. Another thing people make mistakes on is having an unclear offer. So if someone lands on the Sleek Social Club Instagram, I feel like they can clearly tell who we are, what we offer, and a lot of people tend to not make that clear on their pages. They're not sure like, what am I actually getting here? Um, and then another thing is like people say like I do social media for everybody. Well, I think that's a mistake because again, when we're talking about that niche ground, I don't want somebody who just does everybody general across the board. I want the expert in my industry. Um, Another thing is people don't buy services, they buy outcomes. So clients are not looking for just blanket like quick fixes. They're looking for more clients, more sales, less stress. They don't have the time. They don't want to do it themselves. Um, Again, not following up, which I touched on, and then expecting immediate results, which I think that as we know, it's really hard to see immediate results. Social media is such a slow burner. And so promising your clients immediate results are just going to get them disappointed and they're going to feel frustrated and they're going to be like, why am I not going viral within the first week? And I never want to give people, unrealistic expectations. So this is closing essentially everything that I've talked about. So we went into why your social media is your portfolio, why your content should convert, networking, building relationships with real people, real clients, direct outreach, when you should, what you should say, and creating intentional and value-driven content.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sydney. I think the tip on doing research before you do outreach is so, so good. I cannot tell you how many DMs we get to the Planoly account of people wanting to manage our social media. And I'm like, that's actually my job and you can't have it. So, do your research and see if it's somebody that can actually benefit from your services for sure. Awesome. I am going to pass it over to Hannah now, and she's going to talk about once you have those clients, how do you batch your content for them and how are you managing your content systems?
Hi everyone, I'm so happy to be here today and have the opportunity to speak with you all. A little introduction about me in case any of you guys don't know me. Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm 25 and I've been working as a freelance social media manager for just about 3.5 years now. I've worked with over 70 clients in this time and it's just me. I don't have a big team or anything. So a big part of my experience has been kind of figuring out how to manage the workload that comes with having multiple clients. And I've tried a lot of things, trust me, but content batching has, without a doubt, been the thing that's most effective for me. And honestly, once you kind of get into a rhythm of doing it, you realize how much time you're wasting before having a proper content system in place. So today I'm going to give you kind of a bit of a crash course on all things content batching, what it is, why it works, and how you guys can use it. To start us off, what exactly is content batching? To put it simply, content batching is just creating content in bulk. So, for example, instead of spending time every morning coming up with an idea and putting a post together for that day, you might dedicate 5 days out of the month to plan, shoot, edit, and schedule all of your content. And it might sound a little bit intense at first, but the payoff is huge, especially for social media managers and content creators. So these are all the different ways it can help you. It can be amazing for helping kind of getting you ahead of client work when you don't have those kind of the pressure of the last minute deadlines looming over you. Your work is usually much higher quality, which is a big benefit. The second one, obviously, I feel like for any business owner, you will relate to kind of the struggle to have a good work-life balance. And when you're content batching, instead of spending your evenings like rushing to get a post together, you can actually finish your work on time, switch off and relax. And we all know that kind of helps us show up better for ourselves and our business and for our clients as well. So that's super important. And the third one, if you are someone who happens to work across different time zones like I do, content batching can be super helpful because working across different time zones, you're not always available kind of instantly as soon as someone messages you to make an edit. So working through your content in advance, having everything prepared, scheduled and ready to go, avoids all of that last minute hassle and makes things run much more smoothly. We're going to talk through the steps to effectively implement content planning. And we're going to start off with laying the foundations. So before you dive in, there are a few different systems that you need in place to help things run smoothly and avoid kind of accidentally adding to your stress levels, which obviously is the complete opposite of what we are going for when it comes to content batching. So first up are social media strategies. These really are your blueprint. I know everybody says it, but it is so true. They make sure that you and your clients are on the same page about things like your content goals, your messaging, and it provides you with that key framework that you really need for content planning and creation. Second up, we have content calendars, which once again are also essential for kind of providing that structure and also giving you a clear time frame for your work. In my content calendars, I kind of include everything a client might need. So things like shot lists, requests for photo assets, video assets, captions, hashtags, everything kind of all centralized in one place. It's also really key to establish some deadlines. So for example, setting clear deadlines for when clients need to review content by, or when you need some footage for a specific reel, you might need it 2 weeks in advance. So these deadlines really help keep your timeline on track and once again, kind of make sure that you and your client are both on the same page about schedules. And finally, this one is a really important one, having some sort of streamlined communication systems in place. So using a platform like Planoly, for example, keeps everything really nice and organized in one central space. You know, I'm sure many of us, when we started out, we would be emailing like 25 different Canva links over. And it's just a recipe for disaster because things get lost, things get missed, and it just causes so much more hassle. So you want to avoid that as much as you can with these kind of centralized communication systems. So once you have all of those foundations in place, it's time to actually start with the content batching process. So I'm going to walk you through what I do for all my clients step by step. So step one is having a content planning call with each client to put their calendar together. So for me and my clients, most of the time we will have some sort of shared content bank document where throughout the month we can both note down any ideas that we might have. And then I'll also put together a list of new ideas to bring to the call. So based on things like trend research, looking at metrics, that kind of thing. And from there, we'll put the plan together. Step two is sending things like video scripts, asset lists, shot lists to clients, or if I'm the one that's going to be capturing the content, I will just write those myself. Once again, really important is to make sure that you include deadlines on these. This is maybe the most important bit, just so that you have enough time to work through each post without it being super rushed and last minute. Step number three is planning each piece of content. Everybody is different here, everybody works differently. For me, I like to have a rough draft of each post structure before I start content creation. I tend to find this just saves me a bit of time in the long run, and it gives me some space to have a play around with different concepts and different layouts before I get going, which I really appreciate doing. Step number four is the actual content creation part of content batching. For me, it typically takes me about 4 days to complete for one client. And I typically group my content batching either by deadline or by content format. Obviously, working by deadline, the first post to go live need to be the first ones that you complete. But also, some days I will just wake up and I just want to do reels. You know, you wake up and you have that motivation and you just want to dive straight into that. So I like having those kind of two different ways to work, depending on how I feel. Next, I will send the content over for approval and make any necessary edits that the client requests. And step number 6 is the final step. I will write up all my captions, schedule each post, and then I'm done. And it's time to kind of start the whole process again for my next client. So one of the most common questions that I get asked about content creation and content batching is how I manage to do it consistently for all my clients, for multiple clients, without burning out. And my answer to that is that I actually use a 2-week framework. This is something that I've established in the last year or so, and I have found it just to completely change the whole game. Not to sound dramatic or anything, but I tend to split up my month. So for week 1, week 2 of the month, I content batch for half of my clients, and then on weeks 3 and 4, I content batch for the remaining half. I find that splitting my workload like this keeps everything feeling very manageable, and it stops me from feeling overwhelmed and kind of establishes a familiar routine, which I find really beneficial both for me and for my clients when we're working kind of on a longer term working relationship. Time blocking also pairs really well with this. So I recommend that too if you're going to consider splitting up your workload. These are kind of the two things that really made everything feel very manageable, you know, and kind of keeping everything smooth for everyone involved, all my clients and myself. I will mention this little bit at the bottom. When I take on a new client, I always like to consider where they fit in to this 2-week schedule. You know, do I need to hold off on content creation for 2 weeks so that everything kind of runs smoothly and we have that consistency going? Or are they ready to start straight away? It kind of depends. If I'm filling a spot because a client has left, it kind of is where are they in week 1 or 2 or week 3 and 4? So I always consider that. I know when you kind of start with a new client, it can feel quite overwhelming at times. There is just so much to do. You want to do the best that you can to impress them, but sometimes taking a quick little 2-week pause or week pause for things to run smoother in the long run is always worth it. So just to finish up with some three key takeaways. Number 1, content batching is essential for organisation, work-life balance, which obviously is a hot commodity for business owners. We all want to improve that, and it makes sure that all your content is really high quality. Number 2, you need your foundations first, strategies, calendars and deadlines and these systems in place. If you don't have these, content batching just doesn't run as smoothly and it isn't effective kind of to see the extent of those benefits. And number 3, routine is everything. Trying to aim for a consistent routine can be really beneficial. It keeps your workload predictable, stress-free, which is beneficial for you and your client. So yeah, that kind of wraps things up for my little talk of this session. I hope it's given some people kind of a clear roadmap for content batching. If it's something that you haven't tried before, I would really recommend giving it a go. Or if you've tried it and it hasn't really worked out, I'd love for you to kind of try out some of these methods and see how you get on with it. Like we've said, at the end of this session, there's going to be a bit of time for some questions. So if you have any, just pop those in. And yeah, I hope this has been helpful, and it's been really great to have the chance to speak with you guys.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah. We had a previous presenter compare planning the content on the day that you want to post it to doing all of your meal planning and grocery shopping on the same day that you want to eat. And I thought that was such a good analogy. It's like you have to plan ahead to be successful, especially if you have multiple clients. So I love that. Awesome. And thank you for the reminder to anyone out there. We have one more speaker left to go, and then we will be doing a Q&A. So now is a great time to put your questions in if you haven't already. And otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and hand things over to Brianna, who is going to wrap it up for us.
Hi, everybody. I'm Brianna from Socially Brie. And we're just going to talk through how I work with my clients and the systems that I use to work with them. In this session, or after this session, you will have a clear client workflow from inquiry to onboarding, systems that keep your business organized and running smoothly, the exact tools we use to manage clients daily, a repeatable process so nothing falls through the cracks, and the confidence to take on more clients without chaos, because being a social media manager, everything is pretty chaotic. I'm not just a social media manager, and neither are you. I not only run Socially Brie, but I'm also in college for business administration and marketing. I help businesses reach their target audience through intentional engagement and visuals. I love to work out. I have 5 brothers. My hobbies include reading, coloring, and playing lots of board games and card games. Okay, first thing we're going to start with is discovery calls and how I manage these discovery calls. They can be daunting. When I used to take on discovery calls, they would be probably an hour or more. I would dread them. I would have a full anxiety attack. I would literally have to breathe into a brown paper bag, because you probably can't tell, but my speaking anxiety, it's not the best. And when you have to meet on Zoom, you can talk a lot and go over. So I was making the process just very complicated, and believe it or not, discovery calls should really only be between 15 and 20 minutes. That is ample time to be able to discuss with a potential client what they need and what you're able to deliver. So with that being said, I have a little bit of a breakdown. So when you're setting up your discovery calls, I recommend using a platform, like a scheduling platform, Calendly or Dipsado, both great. And I will also have an entire breakdown of every single app that I use at the end, so you'll be able to reference back to that. When I hop on a discovery call, we have one main goal in mind: learning their pain points. So we start off the call with an introduction, and then we ask what they're looking for social media wise. We talk about what services will fit them best, and they'll be able to review all of this in a proposal. I never discuss pricing. Discussing pricing on a discovery call is just going to be a recipe for undercharging. In front of someone, you're more likely to say, oh, you need this, this, and that. Well, we could probably do it for 1,500, but then you are making the proposal and you're taking into consideration how much time it's going to take for each of these tasks. And then you're like, wait, maybe I should be charging a little bit more than 1,500. So you always just want to say, we will send over a proposal with 2 different packages. That way you can see everything broken down. They already got the ballpark on the website. If you don't have pricing on your website, you should 100% add it. It gives them a little bit of a starting point of like, okay, I can possibly afford this, or I'm not there yet. Let me not waste this person's time. Because you'll see with discovery calls, you will get your time wasted. And this is how I have completely overhauled this workflow and said, okay, I'm only taking the clients who I know have the budget. And it's not about, okay, you have to have the budget to be able to take this client on, but it's also, you have to respect your own time. And as you are a social media manager, long term, you go through so many clients who underpay, who take your soul, like take your soul, from messaging you after hours or requesting these changes all of the time, or going over the changes that you allow, or like the same week they're like, well, can you make this change on something that's supposed to go live tomorrow? No. With that being said, your introductions, I gave you a little bit of a script here just to kind of start you off. So it'll say good morning or good afternoon. I wanted to start this call off with a bit of an introduction about you and your business and what you're looking for social media wise. And once they get done telling you, you'll kind of figure out what service of yours will fit them best. So you'll say, thank you so much for sharing this information with me. Based off of what you're telling me, I think desired service will fit you best. You'll break down the service for them and ask if they have any questions. If they don't, you'll say, I just wanted to let you know that our onboarding process is X weeks, and in that time, we'll be building out your strategy and setting up internal systems and whatever else you'll be doing. Always be upfront and honest about how long it's going to take. My onboarding process takes 4 weeks, and that is enough time to have a intro call, do the strategy, start content calendars, have a strategy call to go over the strategy and the first round of content calendars. All of my content calendars have the copy, the post. If I'm doing a graphic, the entire graphic is written out for them because the copy is the most important part. We know you can design a beautiful graphic, but it's about the quality of the content that's in the graphic. Okay, the discovery call went great. So what happens after that? You're going to send over a proposal. So your proposal and portfolio duo is like really what's going to make them sign with you. I always send over my portfolio attached to the proposal. So every single proposal I sent has either their industry photos added to it or specific photos that I might have grabbed off of their website. So the proposal is completely tailored to them, that they can actually envision themselves working with us, because the first deck that they get of the proposal is branded specifically towards them. We do this so they can get like a sense of what it is to work with us, and then you introduce yourself again and personalize a little message. We put, your goal is to attract your ideal customer and increase brand awareness with strategic social presence while taking back your time. This shows them that, and every time it changes for each client depending on what we discuss in our discovery call. Include what they're getting in the package, the price for the package, and the scope of work. Map out payment schedules. For example, I offer weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly payments. Everyone's different. I just think it works for my clients, so do whatever works for you. But at the end of the proposal, I have a few testimonials for them to look at and then information on where they can reach us. Okay, you signed a client, great. Now it's on to the onboarding process. This is exactly what I do from week 1 to week 4. I didn't have an onboarding process in the beginning. No, I started right away. Yeah, and I completely screwed myself over every single time. So here's what I do now to make the process seamless and effective. So you signed a client. I'm clapping for you. Week 1 is the initial strategy questionnaire that is sent over to them. And then the systems such as Dropbox, Google Drive, Slack, payment schedules, all of those things will be sent over to them in a automated email. So we will then create the content planners or the content calendars through Planoly. So Planoly offers a space on the calendar where you can kind of like click and add a note. So it'll kind of act like a placeholder. Oh, well, it actually is called placeholder. So it'll act as a placeholder for you to kind of write out the idea that you have for them. You'll be able to share this with your client, or you'll be able to go over it with them on your guys' first meeting. I recommend the first meeting to be strategy and kind of just focus on the strategy and the content that will come after, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Add in a 30 to 60-minute onboarding call. So not only are they getting the questionnaire sent over to them, but you guys are going to meet together, kind of go over these questions and kind of try to get a little bit more information out of them, because the more they collaborate with you, the more you're going to be able to execute what they want. You will make sure that they also share their brand deck with you if they have one. Okay, so strategy development, using the information from your Typeform or Dubsado, their website, branding, and current social media presence, you'll build out their strategy. I added a little blurb for like one-on-one calls if you guys are ever going to take them, but you'll kind of begin creating their audit of their page if you're including that. If not, this is where you come up with a detailed plan for the call. Strategy and meeting. So we have a meeting with our newly signed client and go over the strategy we created for them. We'll also set up bi-weekly content calendars. So every 2 weeks, I'm sending them their content with all of the copy and all of the captions and the direction of reels or static posts. We like to do this meeting. Then we do a review with them in a meeting and then make any changes that they need. We like to do this meeting on a Monday so we can create the following week's content. For a one-on-one call, this is where you execute the call. I also offer 1 month of support after calls. It depends, but I like to stay with them while they're implementing the things that I taught them in the call, and they can send me a DM or they can message me on Gmail or email me. Lastly, week 4 is beginning to post and doing outbound engagement. This week is for posting. We have our clients approve content and go over content calendars on a bi-weekly basis together. So I send this over usually through Planoly or sometimes Google Docs for captions, so that way they can highlight and leave me comments. And then one-on-one calls, this is where you send over the questionnaire to see how they felt about the call and you build up your testimonials. So lastly, these are just systems that I'll go through with you quickly. You'll also get this, so you'll be able to go back to these. So content calendars are always Planoly. We are a Planoly stan over here. And this is just the content copy for clients, ourselves, and then scheduling whatever we finish with them. I sometimes schedule. I also manually post myself. So if I'm going on vacation, I'll schedule. But for the most part, I am manually posting. Then for captions, it just depends. Sometimes I'm sending over the full content calendar to them, but sometimes I'm sending the content separately. Like for my mini social media manager clients, they're posting. So I'm sending them the captions in Google Docs. This is a great way to start. It's free. Then analytics, I'm a Google stan. I also do all my analytics through Google Sheets. I think free is for me, and I'll keep it as low cost as I can, especially when you're starting out. So I send them a analytics sheet that I go over. I break down everything from their monthly analytics down to each and every single post, from like, share, comment, where they found it on the explore page, the for you, or the regular like tab page. But from their analytic tracking sheet, I am going to send this over to the Planoly team so you guys can actually have this analytic tracking sheet. Forgot to send that over. But you'll have your own analytic tracking sheet that you can use from now on. I love Flowdesk as our main email platform. I also do love Klaviyo, which is in here. Flowdesk is more for my service-based clients. Klaviyo is more for my product-based clients because you can track the clicks more in depth. Editing Reels and TikToks, CapCut Stan. Everything before it goes on to Instagram or TikTok is all through CapCut. Then taking payments, I use Square. I think it's the best. You can also set up automated percentages to get taken out of every single payment that you get. So I save all of that for taxes. So I opt to take 20% out for taxes. I have another account that is just a regular savings account that pulls from every transaction that is made, and it does it automatically. So you don't even have to take it out yourself, because I won't. Then for the CRM for your business, I used Dubsado. I think it's extremely hard to set up, so I used BHope Studio. They are amazing to get everything set up, but if you're doing it on your own, I don't know. I will pray for you, but I think it's really seamless once it is set up the right way. All automated emails go out when someone inquires with me. They can then get a kickback email to sign up for a one-on-one call or a discovery call. You don't have to do it manually anymore, and it saves you a lot of time. Okay, and then if you're just starting out, use Google Forms. This is a great way to get inquiries from Instagram. You could just link it in your bio and get the inquiries from here. Then you'll just have to do it manually. But once you do start making a good amount of money, I would definitely recommend to add Dubsado. So that is all I have for you guys today. I hope that was helpful, and I look forward to hearing your guys' questions.
Thank you so much, Brianna. Every time I remember that you are a full-time college student, in addition to everything that you do, it like actually blows my mind. That was so helpful. We will definitely link the resources that she shared as well. And I am going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to hand things over to Sage Butler, who is our community manager, and she is going to do our Q&A.
Yeah, hi guys. Loved your presentations. Those were amazing. I do have a couple questions. We got a lot coming in through the questions channel. People were really interested in what you guys had to say. I'm gonna start off with Sydney here. You were talking about reaching out to clients, and people in our audience were just wondering, do you have any tips for what you say when you're directly reaching out to clients? What's worked for you? Like, what gets you the most responses? What keeps you from getting ghosted? Any tips like that?
Yeah, definitely. So I will say in the beginning, a lot of my networking was like locally. And then again, I think a huge thing is having a discovery call in your bio, just because, at least for my example, fortunately, a lot of my inquiries are all incoming. So people are booking discovery calls for me, and I think it weeds out a lot of like people in DMs who may say like they want to work with you, but they're not like serious enough to hire a social media manager. So I do think that those two steps ahead could really like dwindle down having to DM a lot of people. But if you are like going to cold DM people, again, I kind of go for like a relationship based first. So maybe it's a coffee shop and I'm going to DM them and be like, hi, I'm Sydney. I live in the area. I absolutely love your honey latte. Um, and just like literally start with that. Like start with that. They already know it's coming from a social media agency page. That will get them to respond definitely, which gets them in your inbox, and then kind of slow build from there.
Yeah, no, totally get that. I receive a lot of inquiries for Planoly specifically, and it always stands out to me when people add little details. It's like they already kind of know your brand. And then a follow-up question, you were mentioning that when you're reaching out to people, you shouldn't just promote to everybody and you should niche down. How would you say that you balance quantity over quality, or switch that
Right.
around?
Yeah, no, totally. I think just from doing this for a while now, I have realized that like your time is everything. And I truly feel like if you're accepting everybody, then you probably are taking clients who A, are either like underpaying you, they're too high maintenance. And I think it's okay to say that not everybody is a good fit for you. I love the clients who I work with. I am passionate about their businesses. And so it makes me want to show up and give my best effort to them and to their social pages. Just kind of like a relationship. Not every relationship is going to be a great fit. So for you to promote and say, I can do everybody's social media, again, I think it's just more of that unrealistic expectation. So again, I would start with like what you're interested in, what kind of content you like producing, and put out that type of energy for those certain clients.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Obviously, you can't work for everybody, and everybody has their own thing. And I'm going to kick things over to Hannah now. We got a lot of people who were really impressed on how you manage all of your clients completely on your own. And they're all like, how do you do it? So one of the questions we got was, are there any ways you would recommend time blocking your 2-week framework? Like every Monday, do you do a certain thing? Every Tuesday, sort of that? Or do you tend to go off of whatever you're in the mood to do that day?
I think I'm kind of a mix of being someone who likes things being quite structured and planned out, but I like enough flexibility that if I wake up in the morning and I'm either not in the mood to sit and write captions all day, or I am in the mood to film and edit reels, for example, I do like to have a bit of flexibility there. I would say, like at the moment, for example, all of my clients I've been working with for quite a few months, I don't have anyone new in the mix at the moment. And I think you find that when you work with people longer term, you kind of just fall into a rhythm that works for both of you. So I have one client, for example, who her business operates 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So I know that she films and collects all the content I need over the weekend. So first thing Monday morning, I know that I can kind of go through all that, if that makes sense. And I mean, I don't have a specific niche. My niche is more, I work with younger female business owners. So everybody is kind of working on different schedules. I work internationally. So I think it kind of works out because everybody's different. It means that I can kind of dedicate specific days to specific people, if that makes sense. Because people that I work with, they aren't all working 9 to 5. I have some that work 9 to 5 alongside running a business. I have some that are constantly traveling for work. So I think it's kind of a mix of having some structure, because I also think that familiarity is really beneficial to the clients as well. They don't have to necessarily think too much about specific deadlines because they're kind of in a pattern of it. But also having the flexibility, I call it like mood working. If I wake up one day and I'm just in the mood to do something, I kind of like that flexibility there.
Yeah, I think a lot of social media managers totally relate to that. And you're not always in the mood to wake up and look pretty and film a reel. That's kind of just the name of the game. And then the second question for you, how do you set your rates when you're starting out, and how do you know when it's time to raise your rates?
I kind of got into social media management through a bit of an untraditional route. I've spoken about this a bit on my Instagram, but I never intended to start a business. I graduated, I had my degree, but I just couldn't get a job because I didn't have the work experience. So it was actually a car garage, which is so random. I've never driven a car in my life, but they were just advertising on Facebook for like a graduate part-time role. So initially they kind of offered me, we're willing to pay this much. So for the first few months, I based things on, am I doing more or less for them than I am for my one client? So do I need to charge more or do I need to charge less? Which worked for a little while until my mum used to work in accounting. So she's just been like a whiz with all the numbers. So we kind of started mapping it backwards. If I want to make a certain amount in a month, and I know that I have space for 6 clients, for example, it's not always as straightforward as dividing that figure by 6, because some clients I work with, we do 1 post a week, whereas some we're doing 12 posts a week. But I think having a bit of a gauge on the price that you want to hit and how many people you can fit in is always a good way to start by working backwards, especially if you maybe don't have as much experience, you don't know what kind of the going rates are. And in terms of knowing when to increase your pricing, obviously the more experience that you get, the more you develop your skills, all those things. People obviously are paying for your time, but they're also paying for your expertise, for the software that you use, the experience that you have, all these things. So every maybe 6 months to a year, I have like a big reevaluation. How am I doing financially? Am I where I want to be? Am I in a place where I can increase my pricing? And when it comes to actually increasing it, this is going to sound so like unprofessional, but every single time I have a discovery call or I send a proposal, I would just bump it up a tiny bit more. And if people are happy with it, then I keep going. If everybody is pushing back, that's out of their budget, that's kind of a hint to me that I need to drop it back down. Thankfully, that hasn't really happened. So I feel like that would be a bit of an awkward situation. But even if it's just bumping it up by like £100 every proposal that you send out, it helps you kind of gauge where your ideal clients are at financially for what they can budget.
That's actually a really interesting strategy. Just like slowly inch your way up. Yeah. I like that. I think that's a great idea. All right, Brianna, I'm going to kick things off with you. The first question I have for you is, how do you handle the clients who are frequently asking for last minute requests and edits, and how do you set those boundaries with them?
My favorite question. Okay, so I used to be the biggest pushover like ever, and it really led me to wanting to entirely close my business and go work a 9-to-5. I mean, actually, I've had multiple conversations with my fiance. Like, I'm just going to close. I'm done. I absolutely hate this. I'm not meant to be a boss. Just like Hannah, I got thrown into this. I had zero intentions of ever becoming a social media manager. I had no clue what I wanted to do with my life. I was in school for psychology. I quickly realized couldn't do that. Then went to school for business. For teaching. Could never be a teacher, but that's besides the point. Now, when I first started, I didn't say no to anything. I said yes to everything I wanted my clients to say. I didn't want them to leave. And I knew that if I just did everything that they wanted, even if I was doing more than the cost of the current package, I was just like, well, they'll stay with me if I go above and beyond. And I quickly realized no, they're going to leave you either way. They don't care if you go above and beyond. They do care, of course, always do your best, but always protect yourself within your time frame. After 5, I'm not on my computer. I'm not on my phone. Do not text me. Do not call me. Actually, none of my clients call me. I do not give my personal number to any of my clients. So do not give your phone number to your clients. That's the first place to start, because they'll start texting you. I don't use WhatsApp. I don't use any of that. I use Slack that turns off at 5 p.m. for me. They can message me through Slack. They can message all night if they want to. At 9 o'clock in the morning is when I will see it. Another thing is, if they email me, I won't look at it. Literally, I will delete the message from my phone, because that is not for me to look at until 9 a.m. the next day. set your business hours and put them in your contract to avoid this. So in my contract, it states that I work 9 a.m. EST to 5 p.m. EST. Anything after that or before that, I will not be responding. Also in my contract, I state that if you need any edits, they are to be made by Friday, the week before the content is going live. So I send all of the clients their content weekly, but their bi-weekly content, which is all the copy and all of the, basically everything that's going to be in a graphic, in a reel, whatever it is mapped out for them in copy before I design it. So they are approving everything that it says before it's designed. So that way, when content approvals do come weekly, there's really never need for any changes because they already approved the content. They started working with me because they like my design. They like the way I create content. So usually there's really no changes. But in my contract, it states on Friday, the week before, you are to make your edits. Anything after that will not be done. And I will give you the Canva link. You can go edit it yourself, but in kinder words. Okay. We're not going to bully them. But at the same token, you have to stand your ground. These clients do not care. Business owners at the end of the day didn't get where they are just letting everybody walk all over them. They know the game. They're going to try to get every little single thing out of you. And that's just it. You have to be able to set your boundaries. Whether you're working with a female founder, whether you're working with a male founder, it doesn't matter. They know the business game and they're going to want, especially the ones working with a business coach. Are you kidding me? They are going to want to suck every single thing out of the contract. So stick to your deliverables, do what you have to do and do it well. And if they try to go above that contract, you could say, hi, listen, my hourly rate is this. I can invoice you the extra time that it will take me to do these out of contract deliverables. Please let me know if you would like me to send that invoice to your Gmail or to your email. And then just leave it at that. If you set your boundaries in a kind and, kind of like, this is what it is kind of way, they're going to respect that way more than you just saying yes to everything.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that is so refreshing to hear because in social media, everybody's talking about how you have to be online all the time and constantly working. You respond to that email right when you get it. So I think that is an amazing mindset to have. That is unfortunately all the time we have for questions today. We got so many more in the Q&A box. So everybody, if you're watching, if you asked a question that didn't get answered, we're going to be hosting a Q&A on our Instagram stories for the rest of the day. So feel free to go pop in some questions in there. And I'm going to go and send this back to Cody.
Well, thank you so much to all of our speakers for coming today and just all of you for tuning in. I feel like this was such a helpful and insightful session. We do have 4 more sessions left of business school coming up in the coming weeks. So I encourage you to register for those. We will be sending out the link tomorrow, as well as the code for the 30% off of Planoly. And again, we have a free 2-week trial. And if you have any questions, please feel free to respond to that email and our team would be happy to help you out and answer your questions. And like Sage said, if you didn't get your question answered in the Q&A, please head to our Instagram and submit it, and we'll finish answering those for the rest of the day. So thank you again so much to our speakers. Please show them some love, follow them, send them DMs, tag them in your stories. Cannot thank them enough for being here and for making this series what it is. And we will leave you with that. So have a good day and we'll see you next time.